one. It's Brett again. This is number 3 of our series. This time I'm going to be going over cards that aren't engine cards but have notable synergy with the deck because of the way Infernoids play. So first I'm going to start with monsters. Thunder King Ryo. Great stun card, as everyone knows. That's why it's at 1. It's becoming more and more relevant as decks are getting more and more searching power. Infernoids themselves don't have any actual search cards except for 1, and it isn't really used right now by most Infernoid players. So T-King makes a great addition to the deck, especially because you can hit it off Reasoning and Monster Gate. Just slam on the board when your opponent's not expecting it. Very great stun card. Always will be, probably. Next up is Yugioh. Again, Monster Gate and Reasoning can actually just special him right from your deck, and if you catch your opponent off guard like that, he can actually just create an OTK right there because you just lock down their entire back row out of nowhere. Something else to mention is all the Infernoids are able to special themselves from the hand or graveyard, as we noted. So it's actually quite easy to tribute summon Yugioh even turn 1. And with most Infernoids, you can actually tribute summon Yugioh without actually going minus, because you can either bring them out of the graveyard, or you could summon the level 3 Harmodic, for instance, by banishing one from your graveyard and summon it from your hand. Pop 1 monster, so now you are +1, and then tribute summon Yugioh for an even plus a Yugioh. So tribute summons work in this deck a little better than other decks. You still don't want to run more than 1 probably, but 1 tribute summon's good. The last monster, which isn't here right now, but definitely should be ran in the side deck, is Spell Canceller for its notable, amazing effect. I don't know any other way to put it, really. It auto-wins you games against some decks, especially Pendulum decks and Necros. So, not Clifford's because they're all 1800 attack, but against other decks, it definitely can just seal a game that you didn't deserve. For those unfamiliar, Spell Canceller is a level 5, I think. 1800 attack. 1800 attack, 1400 defense, I believe. 1600. Okay. Negates the activation of spell cards and negates the effects of spell cards. And neither player can activate them. Yeah. So it's a great card. Next up, spells. So as you guys saw, Reasoning and Monster Gate are played in this deck as well as mill cards. So cards that are spell traps but still have graveyard effects can be turned into actual pluses from your graveyard, which is awesome if you mill them. So Galaxy Cyclone, which just came out, is a huge example of this. Also, because of the Infernoid's archetypal Lance, which has a graveyard effect of protecting them from destruction, you can use cards like Dark Hole to nuke a field without actually nuking your side of the field, so it turns everything into a Regeki. Also, you do run Trooper in a lot of builds, or just need to clear your field sometimes, so that is a very helpful card in the deck. Last but not least, the traps. Not actually last, we're going to go over extra deck too. Breakthrough, just like Cyclone, has a graveyard effect. I personally don't like this card in the deck, because the deck actually has the ability to dodge pretty much any effect monster's effect. So yeah, I don't run this, but a lot of people do. I'm going to go into the dodging of what I just said in a whole other video later, and I'm actually really excited to talk about that, because that's what I think it makes Infernoid so great. So be prepared for that video. I'm excited for that one. Again, with what I said with T-King searching, the deck doesn't search a lot, so it can main Floodgates. Furthermore, the deck also has this guy and this guy, which when summoned with a mistake on the field, protect the mistake from being destroyed with their effects. So they can make, this deck can have really dirty synergy with Floodgates, because their ability to just negate cards and protect the Floodgate, keep it on the field, as well as being able to resummon themselves after they've done so. Finally, Torrential, for the same reason I said Dark Hole was good. You can do a one-sided field nuke sometimes, and most of your monsters actually don't care if they get destroyed a lot of the time, because you can resummon them if your engine's working. And I think we forgot to put it in, but Vanity's Emptiness, another great Floodgate that you can run this deck and protect. So yeah, you can negate MSTs and yeah. So the deck has obvious synergy with a lot of Floodgates because of its awesome boss monster effects. So for extra deck cards, these are I highly recommend them in the extra deck. The first two are actually should be honorable mentions from the last video, which was engine cards. Dante and Lavalval Chain. So Dante, as you guys know, mills 3, and the deck can make rank 3s and it can make any rank it wants, really, especially after the next set comes out. Currently, it's a rank 3, 4, 7 deck, kind of similar to Mermails. But once the next set comes out, anything fucking goes, because you can make whatever level Synchro or Exceed you really want.
You can also make rank 8s currently pretty easily.
Yeah, you can also make rank 8.
Just about as easily as 7.
Yep. So the difference in these is the same difference between Card Trooper and Mathematician. Choosing the card you send versus milling more cards. That's your choice. You can also stack cards like Light Sworns or a Floodgate monster like Thunder King, for instance. So they're both very useful. These are more engine, though. These other cards just have synergy with the deck. So the first one is Ancient Sacred Wyvern. We're going to go into a big video on just this guy and a few other extra deck monsters and their ability to create OTKs out of nowhere. One of the greatest cards for the deck. Another great card with this is Clearwing Synchro Dragon, a newer card. Also has the ability to create crazy OTKs. I'm going to explain that one in a bit more detail, too. Both of them are kind of obvious, but they have some unique little twists with Infernoids that allow them to actually do a lot more damage than they normally are able to do. What I look for in Infernoid monsters, there's 3 things for cards that have synergy with Infernoids. Depending on whether they go for, there's cards for going first and creating unbreakable boards, cards for going second and creating OTKs, and then vanillas, which are a whole different league of their own, but they also kind of blend in with creating OTKs. So this creates OTKs, this creates lockdowns or OTKs. Vanilla, basically, I just like the vanillas. They allow you to put more monsters on the board than you're technically supposed to be able to because they aren't effect monsters, so this gets around the Infernoid's effect of counting effect monsters. So
effect monster level.
You could have all 3 of these on the field, and they would count as 0, so you could still summon Infernoids until you had more than 9 levels of effect monsters.
More than 8.
More than 8.
Yes.
So, yeah. You can have 8 or lower on the field and still summon, but once you're over 8, you can't. Another card for OTKs is Gagaga Samurai. It's Blade Armor with 1900 attack and a second effect that it can direct an attack target to it, which both of those effects are useful. It almost never uses the second one. So it's kind of an abstract card and kind of weird. But actually the reason it's such a good card is because it's a rank 4 that lets you detach for no reason. For instance, you can't detach from Castell whenever you need to. It has to have a valid target. This guy just lets you detach and be like, I can use this effect, I don't need to. You probably will. You'll probably win when you summon him a lot of the time. But detaching is very important because if there's an Infernoid under him, you want to get that Infernoid out from under him as soon as you can.
Into the graveyard to be banished
so that
for more.
It can feed more Infernoid plays. The last one is Evil Swarm Exciton Knight. Card's amazing in here because this deck plays with a shit ton of advantage that isn't counted as advantage. For instance, when I'm playing against my friends, I'll have 1 card in my hand. They'll have 4 cards or 5 cards, and I might have 1 card on the field. And they know they're losing because my Infernoid graveyard is so set up for plays that I still have advantage, and both players recognize that, but the game doesn't. So Evil Swarm Exciton Knight is
very broken
in this deck because you're never actually probably going to have more cards than your opponent, but that doesn't matter. Because
and if you do, you can easily get rid of that
yeah,
if you need to.
They're very good at hand manipulation and field manipulation.
That's why they just have such a great matchup against some of the decks currently, like Necroz. You can get rid of all your cards for Trishula.
Yeah.
And we'll go into matchups, I think, in our next video.
Yeah.
Or are we going to go into OTKs, maybe?
Next, I actually just wanted to, started talking about some of the OTKs the deck actually has.
All right, yeah, we'll go into some combos, OTKs.
And then some other cool plays. So expect play videos and OTK videos next. Thank you guys for watching, and have a good one.